Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 300 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack for Business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Franzgrot from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc.
Today's topic is when creativity meets logic, it's magical. The question from the audience is, how can you create content that truly connects your ideal client and turns them into loyal customers without constantly struggling to come up with new ideas? That's what our guest is all about. Annette Mashi from Write Wizards. Annette is the founder of Write Wizards, and she is a master of crafting words that captivate and convert. As a skilled copywriter and content strategist, she helps female business coaches, consultants, and design professionals tell their stories in a way that highlights their expertise and attracts their dream clients. With a background in high-tech corporate environments, Annette understands the power of strategic messaging and now dedicates her talent to elevating her clients' visibility. Through sharp analysis and tailored content strategies, she ensures her clients stand out, connect authentically, and position themselves as industry leaders. Annette, welcome. What's your favorite quote or saying, ma'am?
Thanks for having me here, Bernie and Wayne. My favorite quote is, just do it, with a Nike slogan, because I believe that people should just do it. Be brave, step out, face the world, and just go for it. The other is done is better than perfect, because sometimes we procrastinate and you have to just do it. Just do it and don't overthink it.
That's perfect. And you have a tagline for your business too, don't you?
I do. I create magic with words. It's Write Wizards. I'm marketing myself as a magician and a word wizard. And that's tons of fun to use everything magical when I'm branding and marketing.
Most businesses make mistakes when they start pushing out their message. If you're brand new at it or you're taking on a new position and you push out, sometimes it comes across blah, right? And there's no spice or dice to it. What are the mistakes that people make? Doesn't have that pep in their messaging?
Biggest mistake people make is that they focus on the features. If you're selling a car, all cars have, we all know, all cars have seatbelts. Now all cars have airbags and things like that. They're features. But the point is, why do I need a seatbelt? Why do I need an airbag? The point of those things is they save your life. So when you're marketing something, you're going to talk about the benefit it gives to somebody as opposed to the feature it has. So try to answer the so what. My car has seatbelts, my car has airbags, so that it can save your life. That's important. Always look for the benefit to your client and the benefit to your customers. And that's what you should be marketing, the benefits less than the features.
I find interesting about talking to copy professionals is how they craft what the other person is trying to say. What is that wizardry to get inside their head and get their into a cogent sentence or two?
It's listening to all the words that people are using, all the stories that they're telling, and then asking them. I ask my clients, give me an example of that. And how did the customer feel once you helped them with that issue? So you have the thoughts, but it's translating it into how people feel about it and what's the transformation that happens with it. But I get it. It's hard. It's not easy to just to write or to talk or to market. You have to really think about what the benefits are, what people are getting from it, and then pull those words across.
I'm just removing your taker there.
You want to hear why the note taker's there? Wayne just asked, how do you get their thoughts? Because that's what the note taker does. The note taker captures all of those thoughts. And then I can go back to the note taker and say, help me figure out the coherent message from those thoughts. The note taker also helps me springboard so that I can translate it. I had an architect I was working with, and she said, it's amazing how I can take her ramblings and turn them into that cohesive, strong copy. And that's just my superpower. I wish I could tell people how to do it. But if you look at the words and hear what people are saying to you over and over, and you really listen, you can pull that out. Another trick is you read the testimonials that people are giving you. I love the testimonials. I ask my clients all the time, let me see the testimonials. The testimonials that your clients are using, they're the words that you need to sell your products and services. If they say, working with you was a blast, so guess what, or the party that you planned for me was wonderful, If you want your party to be wonderful and a blast, then you hire this person. So it's just logically investigating the information that's right in front of you.
It sounds like the art of herding cats. And instead of cats, it's information between the person saying, I do all this, and here's the fire hose, and the people saying, this is what I like about this person or the services. That kind of feeds back to strategy. So cull the information in and you sort it out so it's represented. How do you map out a strategy? How do you map out the communications? How do you map out the other leg of the journey in that communication?
So you want to look at everything, not as just one piece of content. It's not just one podcast, one blog, one email. You want to look at everything overall comprehensively. You want to plan where your clients are today or where your future clients are today and where you want to take them to. And then you want to think about every step of the journey. What do they need to hear to go from point A to point B? What do they need to go from point B to point C? What do they need to go from point C all the way through the rest of the alphabet? So you're sitting down and planning out what they need, what will help them. If you're a business coach, one of the first things people come to you about is time management. How can I solve that time management problem? You want to fix their business and help them thrive. The first thing they might need to do is fix their time management. So I could provide them some sort of guide or resource that can help them manage their time better. I'm taking them on the first step of the journey. Now, the second step of the journey, what do they need after that? And that's how you're building your strategy, breaking it down into small bite-sized pieces to take them along the path with you.
Annette, one thing that I hear back now that tells me that we lost, how did we lose storytelling?
Everybody loves a good story. We remember the stories. Like I tell people about email. I had a friend in college, and every time I would call her, she would say, it's about time you called. Guess what? I stopped calling her because I didn't want that reaction. And that's like the emails. If you only send an email once in a while or every time you're going to sell something, you're losing your clients. You want to keep them on track, nurture them. You want to help them and you want to tell them stories. I always use storytelling in my writing. There's nothing that sells a product better than having a good story behind it. Somebody moving into a house. So you talk about the feelings they had when they opened the door and walked into the house. Guests were welcome and there was space to put all of the grandkids' toys and things like that. So the house didn't look cluttered. And people resonate with that. And that's the image that they want. They're going to hire that architect or designer because that's the image they want. You're trying to create that story that sells the image. And the image is what people want. And it's something that people remember. I always incorporate it. And all of your listeners, I encourage them to. And you can find stories with everything. I can tell a story about how whenever I put on my shoes, my dog comes running up to me because he thinks it's time to go out. And that's his call to action. And you can take that story, which is everyday life, and turn it into a story. And then use it as an example. You want to write a good call to action? Here's what I do with my dog, Max. Now, how do you do that in your business? So you're calling to action your clients.
If your clients can see you putting your shoes on, they know something's up, right? In which case, you have a bigger communication flow on the go. A little bit more on the content and storytelling then. And is it just the oral or is it visual? Can you do more visual without the oral? Is setting up a script part of the journey, part of the process too?
It's pulling in everything. Think of the 5 senses. If I'm writing for an architect, I'm talking about the bread they're baking in the oven that you can smell, or the mint tea they taste, looking at the sunlight coming through the window, hearing the birds chirping outside. You're bringing in those when you're creating the image to sell this architect or designer and their services. By bringing in these images, we can all talk about now that it's snowing outside. You could talk about the fire, sitting by the warmth of the fire, roasting marshmallows and being under a snuggly blanket. All of those things help paint the picture that somebody's going to say, hey, I want that too.
Who's got the best brand voice that you heard? If you have a client and the client goes, I don't know a story, who do you point them to or folks you point them to do it well? Just do it all natural.
Like a company, a specific company that has a brand voice.
It could be some fables too.
Fables. My daughter's getting married in 10 days and she is a Disney princess, unless of course Hogwarts sends her a letter. And in that case, she's going to. become a wizard. But right now it's Disney. And so we're staying within brand. Her invitations had Disney. You can download that Voltograph from Canva and you can use the Disney fonts and things like that. So that's what she did. All of it is Disney. It's staying within the brand to try to create that experience for her guests as a fun, magical adventure when they were coming to her wedding. But Disney for sure.
How can you tell a customer that they do not, in fact, have a brand voice? And then how are you able to craft it?
I really it's really hard to read for somebody that has nothing, isn't sure what they want to do. And they don't know what they want to say and they don't know how they want to say it. Ideally, clients are coming to me after they've already thought about it. You want them to know. It's hard for me to write copy or content about a service that you want to provide if you don't know what service it is that you want to provide. So I start by thinking, how do you want your clients to feel when they interact with you? Do you want them to feel luxurious, like Rolex watches and Rolls Royces? Do you want them to feel comfortable? Do you want them to feel innovative, like a Tesla? It's thinking about how you want your clients to feel, and that helps pull your image across. And what do you relate to? And what do they relate to? You want to be able to relate to your clients, and you want them to relate to you. I have 4 interior designers. One talks about her soul space, creating her soul space. Another talks about having comfortable and elegance in a home. Another talks about getting rid of the overwhelm by focusing on one room at a time for renovations. And another one wants to talk about like innovative spaces. All 4 of them, all doing the same thing, all interior designers, but each one has a different voice, style, and a different way they want their clients to feel. And so they're attracting clients that want to feel comfortable and elegant, or somebody that wants a soul space.
The ROI on this is someone buys from you because they heard the story. But how do you test? There's several different ways to approach a story, right? It can be somber, you can be comedic, different styles, or even the verbiage that you use. How do you know that you've got a winner? Other than you do it and all of a sudden it goes viral. You did a meme on Instagram and next thing it just balloons.
I think that you don't necessarily need to go viral. The point isn't to go viral. The point is to attract the right clients. You don't necessarily want to go viral. It's more of talking to your audience and relating to them than anything else. But
is there a feedback loop though? Is there a feedback loop between your audience? Like A/B testing?
You can send out emails with different subject lines and see which ones resonate better, which ones have the increased in open rates, or which ones maybe have somebody click through to your website and things like that. So there are ways to do testing on what you're doing and what works and what doesn't. The idea is to get people to engage with you, to try to generate traffic to your website, because once people are on your website, they can read more about you and purchase your services or products.
You have to create an emotional connection in order to do your job well. You're not a commodity and you're certainly not an algorithm. How do you foster those emotional connections?
I think a lot of it is listening to what they're doing, the testimonials. Reading those testimonials, you can see the emotions, asking your clients to survey their clients, a little bit of market research. What are people saying about you? What do they say? What do you hear? What are their pain points? You're driving people to you because you're talking about the pain points and then you're trying to fix their pain points. So what do they say? I don't fit into my jeans anymore. Okay, that's a real feeling. I feel overwhelmed. I was talking to somebody the other day. She said, I want to be sending out emails consistently. I want to nurture my list, but I also have a product launch that I'm trying to do by the end of the month. And she felt overwhelmed. I said, you don't need to feel overwhelmed. Just don't worry about the emails. Just worry about the product launch. Dissect what you need to do and then stay with that. It's trying to pull in what's the feeling that people have and what pain points do they have? And then how can you overcome those pain points? And that's what you're marketing and that's what you're solving. And that's what you're writing content about. How you can solve their pain. And be specific. It's one thing to say you want to lose weight, but hey, don't you wish you could fit in that little black dress that you wore when you were 20?
That never crossed my mind, you know?
I go out for Halloween once and it's 20 years later still attacking me.
That's funny.
That's an image and that's a story. And that is something that's going to sell somebody who wants to go back to their younger self because they can picture themselves in that image in that little black dress. And that's what they want. And that's a story that sells.
An opening line on my next talk to someone. This is going to help you remember when you were 20 wearing that black dress and was slinky, right?
That's right.
But that's a story in itself. That's perfect. Do you have any backstories where, hey, someone actually hit that transformation? They've come knocked on your door and said, hey, help me build a message and a strategy. And it's gone from night to day for them. Do you have a story you can share?
So I have an architect who would ramble. We sat together and mapped out at the beginning of the year, it's great to write about your goals. So talk about the goals for your house. What kind of house design do you want? What goals should you have? Do you want to be able to create a space where you can do yoga in the morning so that you could live healthier? We set up a strategy where first we talk about goals and then we talk about something else the following month. We had different strategies for what we wanted each month. And then we would tie it all together, taking her text and putting it together so that she could send it out into her newsletters. And she got 4 new clients. And that's, when you're talking about designing luxury homes, 4 new clients is a pretty big deal. Taking those stories, translating it, painting the images in people's minds so that somebody reading the messages says, yes, I want that too. And then they'll hire my client to do the design for them.
You use a magic metaphor, and you immediately made me think of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Have you ever had something you told your client and they took exactly half of what you told them and created a train wreck and said,
so normally I do the writing for them so that we avoid the train wrecks. They have their stories. I'm capturing what they're saying using transcription so that I don't have those train wrecks. I try to avoid the train. It's great for marketing and branding. I can show my audience enchanting copy. All of those things are part of my brand. I built that as part of my brand by using those words. And that's the kind of images that you want to be able to create for your clients and the stories behind it, because you can use all of that to market yourself and stand out from your competition.
You mentioned something earlier about the 5 senses. When you're delivering a message, it reflects back to the person's memory of 5 senses. But if you're doing an in-person event, let's say a trade show or a talk, how do you incorporate the 5 senses? Is that one of the touch points? How do you keep that rhythm going? In the past, I've had people at a staff appreciation week hand out paraphernalia. It turns out that if you're talking to a bunch of nurses, handing them a pen that writes in black ink was the cat's meow. Everybody can have that pen as I use that at work. I don't buy one. It has the brand and logo, so it's a touch point. How do you incorporate touch points in the 5 senses?
For content, or if I'm in a trade show, I would definitely like the word chocolate flash before my mind. Right? That's right. You're going to remember the person that gave you chocolate. Probably. I know I would definitely remember somebody's giving chocolate out, or aromas, different smells and things like that. Nice smells, not, picky smells. You want. And
here's some cabbage. Here's some cabbage or Brussels sprouts.
But there are some people that could remind them of their mother's cooking, which could give them that endearing memory, which could really pull them into you. But I try to incorporate it in the writings. I actually looked it up today. They talk about 54 touches before somebody's going to buy something. That's insane. Then somebody has to read something from you 54 times before they're actually going to make a purchase. I think it depends on what they're buying. Obviously, if it's a $3 item, it's not going to be that many. But for some of these higher end products, it takes time to nurture your audience. They need to find out who you are and build awareness of who you are, and then wonder, are you the right person that can solve my problem? And all of that stuff, you have to hear from that person over and over. And that's why email's so powerful, because you're sending it directly to their inbox. We take our phones everywhere. And so the phone is so personal. You're taking it everywhere. People grab it first thing in the morning. 99% of us check our emails first thing in the morning. It's something that we do. We're used to it. So we want to be sure that we're touching people by sending them emails on a regular basis so that they can hear from us and follow along with us. So that's one of the touch points. Because you never know for social media, you never know who's going to see what. You don't have any control. The chances of somebody finding your blog is slim to none, unless you're Disney and you're looking for it. But you have
What
to.
I'm intrigued by is you're a magician and a copywriter. One of the things you're up against now is this black box that said they can create unlimited noise, words and verbs and nouns repeatedly. How do craftsmen elevate themselves over the ChatGPT noise?
You embrace it and you use it. The same way as we used to use spell check. Remember when spell check came out and I'm like, oh, this is great. And it checks my spelling because I suck at that. It was great to have spell check and stuff. And I embrace ChatGPT or any of the other Perplexity or Claude or any of the other. Use them. They're tools. It's like a junior copywriter. I say, ChatGPT, finish the sentence for me. I'm missing the words. I know what I want to say. Finish the sentence. ChatGPT, does this email flow correctly? Or do I need to rearrange some of the sentences? ChatGPT, I can't figure out what this word is. I don't want to say the word surprise 3 times in the sentence. Could you give me options for some of those? I use it. I embrace it. It triggers the brain to think. It's not taboo or anything. I wouldn't copy paste and put it out there because I want to be sure that it has my voice. And you can condition it to rate everything with matchable connotations. But sometimes it's like a little over the top. And so it's massage it so it does exactly what you want it to do. But yeah, I use it. It's a tool.
So once you start communicating out to your client base, you've acquired some clients. Now you're looking for new clients. There might be some service afterwards, like real estate. You might sell a house and 5 years down the pipe, or even 10, or maybe even 25 if they're long-term, but they want to come back. How do you push out the same message though, year after year, keeping it consistent, keeping it fresh, and not wear yourself thin? For some people, they'll get worked up to a lather till they realize, yeah, just relax, go with the flow. Here's a message. You'll have to repeat and rinse cycle and tweak. But how do you avoid them building up an anxiety, which leads to burnout?
So you might think you're saying the same thing over and over, but you're not. How many times did we sit down and have our mother read us the same book at night over and over and over? And we never got tired of it. Good Night Moon and Dr. Seuss. I must have heard it a million times. I know my kids ask for it over and over. As a business owner, you think you're tired of the content, but it helps give the people reading your message some comfort because they know who you are, what you do, and how you perform. And your services change. The services change with it. Over time, your voice might change a little bit as things progress. Disney, the way it was when it was first invented, is not the way it is today. It's different and it's changed and evolved. But the message is always the same. It's the happiest place on earth. So you keep yourself without burnout by reusing the things that you have. I think a lot of times we try to reinvent the wheel and we don't need to. A podcast can become a blog. That blog can become emails. Emails can become social media posts. You're just pouring down that one big piece of content into smaller pieces of content. And you're keeping it consistent because you're using the same words, message, and voice. It's just showing up on multiple platforms and different people are receiving it in different manners. Some people like video, some people like audio, some people like to read. By using the same content and having it flow in multiple channels, you're eliminating the burnout of trying to come up with something new every single time.
Yeah, I got another question inside this space. I'm thinking of Disney because they've been around since 1930, 1940? And the people that would be their target audience would be within maybe 3-4 years of age up to maybe late teens. And sometimes the parents, because the parents have to sit there and go, let's watch this, better be good. But you have baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Alpha. How do you manage to follow the bouncing ball across these generations? Is it, and still evolve? Is there kind of a core message and then an add-on? Do we, as consumers, as the audience, expect a tweak? Are these factors? And how do you drive that? Typically, they're going to be in a certain range. They'll have a certain amount of money, right? So it's going to be a little more narrow. But if you're talking the Disney universe, they're to everybody, right? And that messaging. If your audience could be that wide-ranging, whether it's a candy bar, something like that, how do you maintain that connection?
I think you have to think about who you're really selling to. Who is Disney really selling to? Are they really selling to the grandparents who are going to take their grandchildren on vacation? Are they really selling to the kids who are pulling on their parents? Let's go. This is our year. This is what you promised me, the Disney cruise. Who are they really selling to? They sell to everybody. And maybe that's okay. One time they're selling to the grandparents to take their grandchildren on for their memorable vacation. One time they have a commercial that's selling to the parents or the honeymooners. Hey, what better way to celebrate your honeymoon? My daughter's going with her fiance. That's on their bucket list to go to Disney for their honeymoon. So that's a different commercial. That's it. Different commercials and things they do could target different audiences. So you can work your business that way. Or you can be consistent and target one specific client. And then your marketing is really clear. Disney targets a bunch of people because they're selling, but they probably have one specific audience. They're targeting families with kids between a certain age. That's their target market. Everybody else is gravy. When you think about it, you're trying to find your target market. They're the people that are going to buy 80. Go with the Pareto rule, the 80-20. So target to the 80% and then the 20% are just bonus.
So the cleanest way to get them excellent copywriting is to engage you. But let's assume the solopreneur needs a magic wand. What one phrase, sentence, concept can you give them to make their copywriting better?
Testimonials, testimonials, testimonials. Listen to what the people are saying about you, what you do for them, how you make them feel, and what transformation you're providing. They're golden nuggets. Ask them. They've worked with you. They told you. I love the service. The food was excellent, but dig a little deeper. Why was it excellent? Why was the food excellent? Because it was an adult restaurant and there were no screaming children and the experience was wonderful.
This reminds me of a time we're in a restaurant and the kids and the little creamers you get sometimes in the restaurant, those things can fly through the air. And if you're waiting for a meal, the patrons on the other side of the booth sometimes get these little trebuchet moments delivered to them. Sometimes it's humorous, sometimes not so much.
That's why they have the crayons sitting at the table. And I remember my grandmother opening those little things and giving them to us to drink while we were waiting for our meals.
Otherwise, mayhem ensues.
Exactly. I think she did it one time. My brother was like 12, and he thought, really?
We can be a little more mischievous and it has a lot more impact.
We never thought about throwing them.
What are the challenges of, they say, never ask a goldfish about water. What are the challenges about someone in Israel copywriting and selling someone in Pennsylvania? How do you get inside their heads from across a very big body of water?
And because I'm from Philly, it's easy to get inside the heads of Americans. When you're trying to find a copywriter or somebody to work for you, you want somebody, a lot of my clients come to me because I'm their ideal client. In other words, if I'm going to write for the nutritionist, she wants me to do her writing for her because I want to finance that little black dress. So it's easy to relate to that pain point of being a little older and not fitting into that dress. I understand the pain people are going through, or the female business coaches, because I know what it's like to be a female in business and get what the pain points are. So I'm writing for myself. But it's asking them and having the client actually tell you what's the problem the customer's facing and how to solve that problem.
So we've talked about writing content, and the strategy also will incorporate everything else that you've got, which is your website. An hour-long or 10-minute conversation, a 10-minute story. And I know stories can be shorter. How do you condense that so it fits on a website? Do you do a little teaser? Is that where you just put a hint of that and then it dives you deeper if you're interested, in which case that also tells you there's a metric attached to that?
Well, it depends on what you're promoting and what you want the copy to do. If I want somebody to sign up for a webinar, I don't want to just say, go to my website. I want to send them to a specific landing page, which is going to show them and talk just about the webinar. I don't want to confuse people because people who are confused do nothing. It depends on what you want to do and what your copy wants to do and how you want to drive them to a specific location. Go to my website is B. You want to think about what you're doing. If I'm writing an email, I want to send somebody to a specific LinkedIn article or download I'm offering to get on my mailing list. I have 3 steps to turn prospects into paying clients. If you want to learn those 3 steps, I have a great guide. Go to LinkedIn, see the guide, and download it from there. That then takes them on a journey. So from there, they get on my email list. From my email list, they get a series of welcome emails that talk about me, what I do, how I've helped other people, how I can help them, added value that they're getting. And then from there, they roll into my main email list. I'm sending them emails on a weekly basis, nurturing them and giving them stories. You're walking them through a process until they get to those 54 touches, and then they're actually ready to buy from you. Each time I send an email, if it has a link in it, I can tell how many people have clicked through to the link to get to the webpage. On your webpage, you're going to start with the big problem statement. There's a hero section. It talks about it talks about the problem the client has and something you can do to solve it. And then there's a button to contact me. Most people want to continue to read. So you talk about the pain points. You have 5 seconds or 7 seconds to be able to identify and get to a website, 7 seconds to know what this person's doing and am I in the right place? And then work your way through the website.
What's the future? Take your crystal ball out and going, Annette, where is Wizardry going to take us 5 years down the pipe?
Writing good content, leaning more into automation, really leaning into automation, I think is definitely the writing's on the wall that there's going to be more and more automation that's going to be part of the business. But still, I think that people are going to be the skills that a copywriter has can't just be churning out words. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be giving the emotion. Maybe AI will be emotional, but it's still a computer. I don't know how much emotion you're going to be able to get, even though if you say, please write this with more emotion or more compelling, it's still not there yet. So I think the emotions are there, the logic behind it. The computer will never know my stories. They'll never be able to tell you now that I've posted it and now that it's embedded. Probably they'll be able to tell you about my daughter and how she's planning her wedding and all the Disney stuff. But did you know you can put like labels on Tic Tacs that say, welcome to my wedding and thank you for a magical time and Tinkerbell and me too big. In the future, this will all be part of the web because it's part of the data. It'll give us that garbage out. I think that AI will get better and better. We'll have to embrace it, but I don't know that it'll ever get to the point of knowing my take on something that I see or my dog with the shoes. AI is not going to ever know that, but it'll just get better and we'll have to be able to use it to develop the strategies and plan things out. It doesn't know our customer journey. I don't think it will ever know our customer journey. So we'll still have one leg up.
Thanks to Tinkerbell, we've narrowed the perfect client. What does the female entrepreneur or the female coach do to get a hold of you if this resonates with them?
So they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's my primary platform for people out there that are overwhelmed. Pick one platform. You don't have to be everywhere. Pick one place, one nice space. I like LinkedIn. That's where I post most of my content. They can connect to me on LinkedIn and download my guide to learn how to attract clients.
You know what? I want to say thank you, Annette Mashi, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. If you got a story to tell, but just can't get it out of your system, you know what? Annette can help you. She can take you down the Disney path or other paths because you can become your own iteration. And that's a really cool thing.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVINSIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayneemotive8u.ca. That is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter U.ca. Or his website, motive8u.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people. Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert. Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host. Jovan Strika, from each Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space. Then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner, and Wayne Pratt, from Motive 8U Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer. Please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The host of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.